I received a letter in the mail a few weeks ago. No return address, just a single sheet of paper filled with neat handwriting. The sender called herself Emily, though she insisted on remaining anonymous. She said she wanted to share her story, the kind of story that eats at you, keeps you awake at night, and that she could never tell anyone in her real life. As I read her words, I could feel the weight of every memory, every moment of doubt and heartbreak she had carried alone. Emily began by describing the early days of her relationship with Derek. She wrote about the first time they met, the way he had smiled at her across the coffee shop, the sound of his laugh, the small gestures that had made her feel like the center of the world. Their relationship had grown over 4 years into something that looked, on the surface, perfect. Late-night talks that stretched into dawn, weekend trips that felt like little escapes from reality, and inside jokes that only they shared. Derek was charming, attentive, funny, the kind of person who could make someone feel completely safe. For Emily, that had always been enough. But even the strongest relationships, she warned me, have cracks. Invisible cracks that go unnoticed, until they widen and swallow you whole. She wrote about the first signs, the small inconsistencies that initially seemed meaningless. A phone buzzing at odd hours, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, messages disappearing before she could see them. At first, she had told herself it was nothing. He's busy, he's stressed, he's just careful, she thought. But every night, the gnawing feeling grew stronger. She would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, trying to convince herself she was overthinking it. Emily described how every small detail began to feel magnified. A faint smell of cologne she didn't recognize on his clothes. Invitations to work events she had never heard about. Derek's smooth, rehearsed excuses. Each hidden detail added to her unease. She began keeping little notes on her phone, reminders of strange occurrences, receipts she didn't recognize, social media posts that didn't add up. She watched carefully, waiting for a clue, a hint, anything that could explain the twisting feeling in her chest. She told me about memories that had started to feel tainted. An anniversary trip 2 years ago, when Derek had kept checking his phone instead of enjoying the view. A forgotten dinner she had painstakingly prepared. At the time, she had laughed it off. Now, in hindsight, the laughter felt hollow, almost mocking. She began replaying conversations in her mind, dissecting every word and gesture, searching for hidden meanings she had missed. Then came the night she decided to surprise him. Emily wrote in vivid detail. Cooking his favorite meal, lasagna, garlic bread, chocolate mousse. Packing it carefully, double-checking the apartment number, and stepping out into the drizzle. The rain blurred the streetlights, turning puddles into distorted mirrors. Each step felt heavier than the last, a mix of hope and dread twisting in her stomach. She remembered the first time she had visited Derek's apartment, the smell of vanilla candles, the soft hum of his record player. But tonight, something felt wrong. When she reached the door, it was unlocked. Not forced, not broken, just unlocked. Her heart skipped a beat. Slowly, she turned the knob. The door creaked open. Inside, silence. Too quiet. The lights were off, except for a faint glow in the living room. And then, laughter. Soft, intimate, the kind reserved only for someone close. Emily froze. Her hands shook. She crept closer and then saw them. Derek, with another woman. Laughing, holding hands, whispering in ways that had been meant only for her ears. And he didn't notice her standing there. Time slowed. Every memory of their relationship, trips, nights on the couch, shared secrets, suddenly felt like a lie. Every promise, every I love you, every whispered word, tainted. She didn't scream. She didn't confront. She just watched, letting the betrayal wash over her like a tidal wave. When Derek finally noticed her, panic crossed his face. Words stumbled out. Emily, it's not what you think. But she didn't want to hear them. She didn't need to. She turned silently and left into the rain, letting it soak her hair and clothes, feeling the cold hit her like reality itself. She walked home, replaying every single moment of the relationship. Anniversary trips, surprise gifts, lazy Sunday mornings. Everything now felt like a performance. She stopped at a small cafe to collect herself, the rain drumming against the windows, echoing the storm inside her. She watched couples laugh and hold hands, and she couldn't help but wonder, how could someone hide so much, even when they love you? How could she have been so blind? Emily described becoming obsessed with uncovering the truth. She combed through old messages, receipts, and social media accounts. Every small detail clicked together: a dinner he forgot to tell her about, a friend who mentioned seeing Derek somewhere he hadn't said he'd been. She realized the betrayal wasn't just about the other woman. It was deliberate concealment, patience, and a carefully woven web of lies. The man she thought she knew was only partially real. She wrote about Derek calling, leaving voicemails, sending texts, apologizing, promising he'd never do it again, but she didn't respond. Each message twisted her stomach. Part of her wanted to answer, to hear the old voice she loved. But she remembered the laughter, the whispers, the betrayal. No explanation could erase that. Weeks later, Emily wrote, a small, unmarked package arrived at her door. Inside, a handwritten photo album. Every picture showed Derek alone, smiling, happy, like everything was normal. And the last page, a blank sheet with a single sentence: I never wanted you to find out this way. Emily didn't cry. She didn't throw the album away. She set it aside. She understood then that some people only give you half the truth, and sometimes that half is enough to break your heart completely. She ended her letter with this thought: the scariest part isn't the cheating itself. It's how silently, patiently, someone can hide their actions in plain sight. How easily trust can be broken without you even realizing it. Even when you think you know someone completely, you may only ever see a part of them. And now, after hearing Emily's story, there's something we need to pause and really think about. This isn't just a tale of betrayal. It's a lesson, a reminder that trust, while powerful, is also fragile. Even in relationships that seem perfect on the surface, there can be cracks that are invisible until they widen and swallow you whole. What hits hardest about Emily's story isn't just the heartbreak she endured, it's how subtle it all was. The creeping feeling that something wasn't right, the small inconsistencies, the little secrets. These aren't dramatic events. They're the tiny warning signs that often go unnoticed until it's too late. And here's the thing: our instincts usually notice these things before our minds do. That uneasy feeling, that little knot in your stomach when something doesn't add up, that's your intuition speaking. Ignoring it can lead to exactly the kind of pain Emily faced. The biggest takeaway here is simple, but it's something too many people forget. Trust your instincts, always. If something feels off, don't brush it aside. Ask the hard questions. Pay attention to the patterns. Take note of the things that don't make sense. Protecting yourself emotionally isn't selfish, it's necessary. Your well-being matters more than preserving an illusion of a perfect relationship. Walking away from a relationship that hides half-truths or secrets isn't failure. It's courage. It's self-respect. It's the recognition that your heart and mind deserve honesty. Heartbreak, as painful as it is also an opportunity. It teaches resilience. It teaches us to recognize red flags earlier, to value transparency, and to not ignore the quiet voice inside that knows when something is wrong. Relationships are supposed to be safe spaces, places where trust, honesty, and care are constant. When those things are missing, it doesn't matter how much you love someone. The relationship becomes dangerous to your emotional health. And Emily's story reminds us that betrayal isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and hidden in plain sight, until one day you realize everything you thought you knew wasn't real. So if there's one lesson to take away from her story, it's this: see clearly, trust deeply, but never ignore your instincts. Protect yourself emotionally, demand honesty, and don't settle for half-truths. Some truths will stay hidden until the moment they can no longer be concealed. And when that happens, your strength will be measured not by the pain you feel, but by the choices you make afterward. By how you move forward, rebuild, and refuse to let someone else control your sense of worth. Because at the end of the day, awareness and self-respect are the most powerful shields we have. And the only way to prevent being blindsided again is to pay attention to those small signs, to honor our own feelings, and to never allow ourselves to be blind to the truth.